Right, hello people, welcome to my prediction for Mario Barrios versus Ryan Garcia. The WBC World Welterweight title is on the line, of course. And yeah, let's get into it. This is one of the more intriguing matches that have been made in recent boxing for me. Just because both men are on such weird form. And one man you kind of know what you're going to get, and one man you don't. So, yeah, let's get into the form of both men. Starting off with the guy who's, the champion, Mario Barrios, and it's his fight for a record of 29 2-2, 18 wins coming by knockout, 1 defeat coming by knockout. He's 30 years old, and he is, like I said, on a very weird run of form. Now, in terms of physical ability, he is 6 foot, 71-inch reach, good size for a welterweight, really good size. Is of course coming off a draw to Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, who was coming off a major layoff, hadn't looked good in his last fight against Ugas. Hadn't looked good in exhibitions he'd had in the meantime, and was really in just what was an incredibly bizarre fight. To Barrios' credit, Pacquiao looked a lot better than he should have. For an old man, he looked great. Nowhere near his prime form, but looked quick, looked coordinated, reflexes looked alright, but Barrios looked like he was kind of almost in sparring mode. Looked a little deterred because he didn't expect that version of Pacquiao to be in the ring. So it wasn't a great performance from Barrios. A draw is completely fair. On precedent, Pacquiao should have won it, just coming off that fucking layoff. Do you know what I mean? But no, and in the actual scoring criteria, a draw was completely fair. But going the distance, going to a draw with a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao is diabolical. In 2025. But yeah, man. Before that, had a draw against the unheralded Abel Ramos, who isn't a bad fighter, but isn't particularly great. Definitely shouldn't be going to a draw with him at world level. So yeah, his 2 defences of his full world title have been draws. In the Abel Ramos fight, he dropped Ramos in round 2, and Barrios himself was dropped heavy in round 6. It was a good fight, but going to a draw with Abel Ramos also isn't a good sign. Those are the only 2 defences he's got of his full world title, and they're both draws. Previous to that, he defended the WBC interim title. Nothing too notable there. It was a pretty smooth sailing performance. Before that, won his interim title, which of course later got upgraded to a full title against Ugas. Ugas very long in the tooth. But here we get into the point. Ugas was doing good, and Barrios won it by unanimous decision, but mainly because Ugas had an orbital injury in the Errol Spence fight, and it kind of reactivated here, and kind of just took all momentum from Ugas, which at that point, I don't know if it's a good look. Ugas was a good quality fighter, but I don't know if having some early rounds taken by Ugas and then clawing your way out of it because of an injury. Just fair play, the injury is caused in the fight. Do you know what I mean? Barrios punching him in the head, it activated the swelling, but I don't know if that's a great look. So yeah, man, the form of Mario Barrios is weird. His only 2 defeats come at the hands of Keith Thurman and Gervonta Davis. The Gervonta Davis fight, of course, coming at 140. The Keith Thurman fight, of course, being his move to 147. And we kind of, with the Keith Thurman fight in particular, we kind of get back into what I said about the Pacquiao fight, is that he got deterred. And I will get into that later in the video, of course, when we talk about the actual prediction. Barrios' form is crazy. It is so weird. 2 draws in a row, and this isn't the 2 draws in the kind of Lamont Roach way where arguably could have won the fights. These were draws. He shouldn't have, you know what I mean? He didn't win. Definitely didn't win. But yeah, going into Ryan Garcia, who comes into this fight for a record of 24-2 with no draws, 20 wins coming by knockout, 1 defeat coming by knockout. 27 years old, 5'8", with 70-inch reach, decent frame for the welterweight division, nothing special. He is, of course, coming off his defeat to Rolly Romero, which was for the WBA world title. Looked terrific in that fight, looked gun shy. Got dropped early, and went incredibly gun shy. Romero took away his best weapon, which was the left hook. Kept the right glove very tight to his chin, and Garcia didn't establish any other offense. Didn't lead with a jab. Literally only looked like he had a left hook in that fight, which wasn't there for him, which is bizarre because we have seen Ryan Garcia actually has not the worst jab in the world. Like, he has a decent jab. We saw that in the fight against Javier Fortuna a few years back. He actually does have a good jab. I guess the power and the strength of Romero just kind of kept him in his box. But before that, it's coming off a no contest against Devin Haney, which is a fight that I've got some things to say. In the night he won it, of course it was overturned to a no contest due to him failing a drug test. We're not going to get too much into that. Outside of round 1, where Garcia hurt Haney with a left hook, and outside of the rounds 7, 10 and 11, this fight was a diabolical performance from Ryan Garcia. He looked absolutely awful. It was lacking energy. His punch output was poor. He was just very lucky that Haney had the holes in his offense because he's maybe been a bit too aggressive. Because he was not in shape to fight that night. Of course, he hurt him in round 1, which won him the round. Round 7, round 10 and round 11 won the fight on the night clear. But outside of that, Haney was actually picking up quite a few rounds, and it wasn't a great performance. He didn't look good. But Haney looked worse. But that was, of course, a no contest. Before that, fought Oscar Duarte, who was 26-1-1, was a bit of an unknown at the time, has, of course, gone on to reveal that he's actually a very, very good fighter. He knocked out Oscar Duarte in the 8th round. Looked uncharacteristically gun-shy in his fight. And was employing a lot of movement. Was not a lot of output from Ryan Garcia. Did, of course, find his shot in the chaos, which is kind of where he thrives, but did look gun-shy. Was doing that weird kind of Philly shell he does where he turns his back, which is obviously against all kind of textbook rules in boxing. But yeah, he was gun-shy in that fight, and the reason for that may have been because of his defeat to Gervonta Tank Davis, which was a 7-round KO defeat, in which he was stopped with body shots. He was down in round 2. That might have what made him gun-shy. Might have been what made him gun-shy. We know Ryan Garcia lacks fundamentals. We know if you can get his timing down, timing beats speed. He is very quick, but timing does always beat speed. Gervonta Davis had the timing to beat his speed and just had his number on that night. Ryan Garcia, of course, being incredibly rate trained, but maybe that's why Garcia didn't open up too much. So yeah, man, that's the form of both men. It's very, very weird. One of the weirdest world title fights you're ever going to see, in terms of what have you done for me lately from both men. But getting into it technically, Mario Barrios, of course, the defending champion, is calling him average would be is unfair. You know, there's nearly 3,000 welterweights on the planet. You don't get to be a belt holder, and you can't call a belt holder average. He's an average world champion, right? He's not an average boxer. He's an average world champion. He's kind of a 6 out of 10 in all areas, right? He's got a good jab. It's nothing special. It's a bit of a one-dimensional jab. His defense is fine. You know what I mean? It's textbook, but is exploitable. His footwork is he's fairly flat-footed, but doesn't cross his legs. Keeps his base quite well. He's not the quickest. He's not got the most power. Yeah, he's kind of just a 6 out of 10 in all areas. Whereas Ryan Garcia lacks fundamentals, as we all know. Keeps his chin up, drops his guard. Kind of leans straight back in moments to try and defend shots, bringing the right hand down. But makes up for those lack of fundamentals in just athletic talent. Him being so quick, him being so powerful, his timing actually being really good. When he does get the guard up and he does kind of catch and shoot, he's delivered some of his best knockouts. Yeah, he makes up for that lack of skill in athleticism now. This is a tricky fight to say it's going to go this way. It's going to go like this, and this, because Mario Barrios is, coming off 2 draws. What have you done for me lately? You've made fights very, very close, so it's hard to pick you. But Ryan Garcia hasn't won a fight, and Ryan Garcia's looked poor in some fights. So, in terms of what have you done for me lately, it's a very hard fight to pick. If I had to tell you how I think this is going to go, I think if Ryan Garcia shows up in optimal shape, which I think he's going to show up, and I think he's going to look good. I do think his head's in it. I do get concerned when I see him missing the WBC check weight, the 10-day check weight, and him streaming and all that. But let's just say his head's in the game. Let's speak from a hypothetical standpoint. Say his head's in the game. He's in shape, right? He should come in quick. He should be explosive. He should be powerful. I've said that Mario Barrios has had an issue in the past of kind of being deterred and being kind of put in his box where he fights within himself. Against the likes of Keith Thurman, where he's outskilled, and against the likes of Manny Pacquiao, where he probably expected Pacquiao to be a bit more weathered than he was. And so that kind of made him hold back and just kept him in his box, made him unsure of himself. Ryan Garcia's speed should absolutely be one of those things that does that. Barrios has some decent timing. It's nothing special. It's not of the level of Gervonta Davis. And with the level of speed that Ryan Garcia possesses, you need to have a special... You need to be a special type of counterpuncher. And Barrios simply isn't that. Like I said, he's a 6 out of 10 in all areas of the game, basically. Yeah. We've seen in the past Barrios can get caught with his hands, with his guard a bit too loose. The hand positioning being decent, but the guard just simply being loose. And I think Ryan Garcia's speed will keep him within himself, and I think Ryan Garcia will catch the attention of the judges with some shots that kind of get through the guard. Mario Barrios typically uses the high guard. It's pretty much his only layer of defense. Ryan Garcia has shown ability to exploit a high guard really well in the past, kind of punch around it with his hooks. And I think Ryan Garcia gets this done by decision. I think he looks decent in the process of doing it. I think he deters Mario Barrios with his speed, and I think by keeping Barrios within himself, that's going to open up opportunity to Ryan Garcia to kind of split the guard of his hooks, get through the more eye-catching and effective work, and Barrios delivers a lackluster performance. Garcia gets it done. But yeah, interesting fight. Thank you guys for watching.